Carved in Bone, a Henry Rios novel by Michael Nava, is set in San Francisco between 1971 and 1984. The novel is about the life and death of Bill Ryan, a gay man who arrived in San Francisco in 1971 as a frightened 18-year-old who'd been kicked out of his family for being gay. His apparently accidental death in 1984 is investigated by Henry Rios, a gay Latino criminal defense lawyer newly out of rehab, who's moonlighting as an insurance claims investigator. In this passage from Chapter 2, Rios is running through Buena Vista Park on a beautiful November day in 1984, a few days after the re-election of Ronald Reagan.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
San Francisco, November 1984. I sprinted up a dirt path, covered with pine needles and brown leaves, to one of the paved roads that crisscrossed Buena Vista Park. Edging one side of the road was a stone retaining wall. In the gutter between wall and road were chunks of marble and granite, some bearing part of a date or a name. These were shards of gravestones salvaged from the cemeteries emptied at the end of the last century, when the city had pressed up against its geographical limits and claimed their space for its growing population. I veered off the road onto another dirt path and galloped up wooden steps that led to the summit. On wobbly legs, I walked around the circle of grass where two couples, male and female, and male, glanced at me for a moment before returning their attention to the view. Veterans Day 1984. Ronald Reagan, just re-elected president, said it was morning in America. But in San Francisco, where I shared the sidewalks with men who looked like the unburied dead, the morning was altogether different. As for me, still shaky 3 months out of rehab after nearly drinking myself to death, I often couldn't tell which moment my life had struck, morning or midnight. Through a break in the thick surrounding woods, the city unfurled itself below me. Low-laying gray, dun and pearl white buildings covered the undulating hills beneath the achingly blue autumn sky. Just beyond the hilly neighborhoods, a single red-orange tower pierced a heavy veil of incoming fog, the Golden Gate. A bird keened in the oaks above me. A foghorn moaned in the bay. A low swoosh of street traffic drifted up from the streets. Wild roses splattered red blossoms on the hillside. The air was fragrant with the scent of leaves and earth and ocean. San Francisco at its most beguiling. The kind of view that either broke or mended hearts. As for me, suicidal drinking followed by bare-knuckled sobriety had shattered my emotional gauges. I knew if I stood there one moment longer, I would burst into tears. So I jogged to another clearing where the woods blocked out the city. From there, I detected a few faint trails in the brush. The park was a famous cruising ground for San Francisco's gay men. It was they who had made these trails as they stalked each other. On a beautiful sunny afternoon like today, the park should have been buzzing with covert activity, but the woods were empty and still. Something else was stalking the city's gay men, a virus that bludgeoned them with grotesque diseases, leaving them blind, demented, and emaciated before it killed them. It passed from body to body in the naked intimacy of sex, so that while all of us were at risk, none of us knew for certain whether or not he carried it. I had never played in the park. The police sometimes raided the woods, and I wasn't about to risk my law license for an outdoor blowjob. But I'd had sex in bathhouses and bedrooms all across the city. I assumed I was infected. Every morning I woke up and wondered, will this be the day the virus strikes?